Hello dreamers and welcome back to Big Dreams Tiny Budget. This video is going to be a lot different than all my other videos, but it does tie into what I'm doing here on the homestead. So, some of you may not know, but many years ago, well, not that many, I used to be an avid gardener, and what you're seeing here is pictures of my old garden uh, way back when. And my mom was allergic to grass, so these are pictures of her um, mobile home in Washington, and she did not want the grass anymore. So for Mother's Day, back in, I believe this was 2009, my son and I drove up to Washington State and surprised my mom with a whole carload of plants and flowers and stuff that came from friends of mine on a gardening site. They shipped these plants from all over, and we surprised her for Mother's Day with tearing out her lawn. This project was done in a 3-day period with my sister, my nephew, my son, and I, and my mother. But we rented a sod cutter. We cut out all of her lawn. Here's Mom helping us, and proceeded to transform her front lawn into a garden space that she could sit out and enjoy. And we worked diligently for those 3 days. I just remember lots of dirt. There was so much dirt from cutting out the sod in this yard. And in the middle of doing this, I had also gone up to one of the stores nearby, and I found a cast iron bench. And we wound up putting that bench in the middle of her garden. You'll see that here shortly, but we put that bench in the middle of the garden, and there it is. And that's where Mom would have her morning tea and enjoy her garden. And she did that for many, many years. So this is more, boy, I didn't realize I had this many pictures of this garden. But this was way before YouTube days. And we had ordered a bunch of mulch. This is my son on his birthday. Poor thing just shoveled horse poop all day into these gardens. The rocks we got from my sister's property to outline the paths, and in the middle we're also planting all these plants and seeds that came from, like I said, friends from Dave's garden all over the United States had sent these flowers. So we did this with very little money. There's my son again, way back when, shoveling horse poop. On his birthday. This was on his 10th birthday, so he was the star champ there. And this is just a view from the walkway and her driveway. But she was absolutely surprised by this garden and this trip, and thoroughly loved her garden. Although she couldn't get down to do the gardening, we had to later on hire people to come out and do the weeding and stuff for her. But she really enjoyed this garden, and it would have never been possible without my friends from Dave's garden sending a bunch of plants, and the help of my son and my nephew and my sister to get it all done in 3 days. So this is my son after we had finished most of the planting and the beds, and we were waiting for some pea gravel to show up to put along the walkways. And while we were waiting, I found this old fence in the neighbor's yard, and I asked him if I could have it, and he thought I was insane. So we checked the fence and we pieced together some of it that was still usable. And this is the parts that we deemed usable. The old rotten, it was pretty rotten, but there was some that was usable, and of course if it's usable I'm going to use it. Oh, the pea gravel showed up. My son looked so excited. He was the chief shoveler that weekend. And this is where we covered the paths with weed block first. And here I am still working on this fence, trying to make it usable. This is what I came up with the fence. We just, like I said, pieced together garbage, put some paint on it. And in the back corner of that, we actually planted a butterfly bush that grew humongous. But we put that on the corner of her driveway and the walkway or the street. These are some tippy pots, and we put a little vegetable garden in that tub. I believe in the tippy pots we also had some strawberries and whatnot that she could walk right outside her door and pick. And this is Mom in her bench, super happy. And this is all of us in her bench. Now, for those of you who have been following me know that I moved to Washington. This is where I'm going to get emotional, but I moved to Washington in 2014 to be near my mom and my sister and the rest of my family. This is her on her birthday. She was turning 78 there, and her and I got to spend a lot of quality time together. And then in 2018, she had a stroke. And this is as she's leaving the hospital in 2018. And because of that stroke, I decided to stay in Washington longer and spend more time with her. And then in the last 6 months of her life, I got to move in and take care of her, be a full-time caregiver. So after Mom's stroke, she wound up losing her mobile home and had to move into an apartment building. And that bench we put on her back balcony so she could still go out there and enjoy her tea outside. And then when Mom passed away, just before she passed away, I promised her that I would make a garden for her and that she could come visit us in her garden with a new body that wasn't so broken. And when I moved to Arkansas, again, I'm going to be really emotional here, because right after we told that to Mom, she actually passed away within a few hours. And I moved to Arkansas, and unfortunately the bench got left behind. We couldn't get it apart because the screws were all rusted, and I just couldn't fit it in the truck with all my tools and stuff, so it got left behind at my sister's. And then Ed from Crazy Ed's Homestead happened to be in Washington with a semi-truck, and he agreed to meet up with my sister and get this bench and also a box of all my Indian artifacts and bring them back to me here in Arkansas. So Ed met up with my sister and got this bench and helped me. He actually drove it all over the U.S. first and then eventually made it back here to Arkansas, and I was able to meet up with him just after a horrible storm and pick up the bench from him and my box of Indian Native American stuff. And so this is me clearing an area right outside my bedroom window and in the only grove of trees I left on this lot that I'm living on. But I am clearing up this area for Mom's new garden. And just before this, I had purchased a wheelbarrow that I was using to move mulch and dirt into my garden beds that you can see there across the street. Unfortunately, somebody came and stole my brand new wheelbarrow, and I discovered it somewhere here. In a few minutes, I start looking all over the property for this wheelbarrow, and it was nowhere to be found. Oh, maybe that comes later, but here I am. I took apart Mom's bench and I'm cleaning it up. Again, I don't have water out here yet. I didn't have any water catchment, so I am trying to clean this up using as little water as possible. And this had years of moss and dirt and, growth on it from sitting outside in Washington for many years. Everything turns green and turns into moss. But I'm actually surprised at how clean I was able to get this bench just with some of the dollar store awesome spray and water and a lot of scrubbing. And the other thing is, when I was doing this bench, I was just trying to clean it up some. I didn't want to make it look new again because of its history. So you'll see there's a big spot in the front where all the paint and enamel is completely gone. And I sanded it up a bit, but I did not repair that area on purpose. There's Maisie trying to help clean it. So if you've ever done any gardening on the scale I did back in California, you'd know that you really become a slave to that garden. You can't vacation or go away very long because you have to be back at working in the garden, whether it's the vegetable garden or just even the flowers. Took a lot of time weeding and taking care of, and it was worth it, but my time is limited these days. So in Arkansas, I didn't plan on having a big flower garden. I'd rather spend my time and energy doing a tea garden, which is what I'm planning for this area in where Mom's bench is. And about here is where I realized that my wheelbarrow was gone. And my heart sank after that because it took me a while to get back into the project. I think it was a few days. I was just disheartened by the theft. But here I am painting up this bench. And again, I didn't want it to look brand new, but I did want to cover the exposed metal part. So my plan wasn't really to do a bunch of flowers and, pretty things out here, although that does do a lot to nourish your soul. I wanted to do more things that were going to nourish the body, and I'd rather spend my time growing vegetables and food and tea gardens and stuff than just pretty flowers. So in Mom's garden, that's what I plan to do, is a tea garden for her. She loved tea and wasn't much of a coffee drinker, so I just think it's really appropriate to do a tea garden out there for her. And yes, this video was done back in May. That was the same day that they came out and they tied down the skirting, or they tied down the mobile home for me. So that's why the skirting is off of the mobile home. I did wind up replacing my wheelbarrow with another brand new wheelbarrow. Here I am using buckets to bring soil over from across the street because I had no wheelbarrow. But eventually I did buy another wheelbarrow, and I painted it bright pink so that if someone steals it, they will now get a bright pink wheelbarrow that will be easier for me to spot in the neighborhood if it's a neighbor that was taking it. And I've had no other instances of theft out here. I believe that was stolen the night of the storm that we had. And I think it was just an opportunist that was in the neighborhood. And these are some wildflower seeds that I had. They're really old, so I wasn't sure if they were going to sprout up. Nothing has sprouted up since then. These are also some old California poppies that I had. So I just sprinkled them around. But my plan is, as soon as I get water catchment out here, then I will invest in some perennials and start adding some tea garden stuff for our Mom's Garden area. So that's the story of Mom's Garden. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much, Ed from Crazy Ed's Homestead, for bringing this bench out to its permanent home here. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Maybe the birds will sing about your heart. Maybe the trees will whisper the word. Maybe the sun will spread your joy to the ones who lost their hope.
I'm sitting in the elevator here laughing. Should I be nervous? She got me back in the corner. Look at her laugh. I just moved to slide in and she started busting up. She's going. She's gonna run me
Fill
over.
my head with roses. I can't help but dream away. Standing on a field with you and flowers everywhere. Maybe there is a star with your name. One thing I know is that there should be. There is no one who has a heart as pure, no, not like yours. Dreaming of you. 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 What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars.